Okay, this is a assembly guide for our bike stores or any of our garden storage options of this sort of size. This variation measures roughly 2 meters by about a meter by about 1300 in height. This is a cedar slatted variation in this video. The assembly won't matter if you've opted for a different timber such as the Douglas fir or pressure treated. The only difference will be the base might look slightly different if you've ordered a pressure treated. This grey base is what we supply with the cedar or the Douglas fir. If you've opted for the pressure treated, we are using a OSB 3 grade base for your pressure treated variation. Your store will come flat pack design on a pallet, and you will then just take the components off. You can see here the two sides are over here. We've got the roof just here in the background, and the back panel and the doors are just off to our left there. But what you would do is take those off the pallet and just spread them out as you're going to be using them. But your first piece you're always going to be starting with is this base panel. Get that into position. If you need to level it up, you know, any shims or anything underneath, then do that at this stage. It's probably going to be a little bit easier. And then you're going to be starting with your back panel, which is going to be getting attached along this line here. You can see here this white label is marking up what is the front and the rear of the panel, this being the rear. You will be attaching your back panel along this edge here. So I'll get the lads just to bring that into frame now, and we'll get that attached. So you can see here that the back panel is resting on top of the actual base. So that framework that you see there is actually sat on top of the grey base. Underneath this base there's obviously a pressure treated framework to keep it off the ground, but you can see there all you're doing is lining that up with the back of that slat there, and then these coloured stickers, they are representing which screws you're going to be using. So you'll get a bag which I'll show a picture of, and you'll be using obviously the bag that in this case has got the red stickers. Yours again might be a slightly different colour, but you know, red, match the red screws in the kit that comes with it. If you're blue stickers, then you know, it just self-explanatory. So you're going to be screwing that into the floor, directly into there, which you can see there, and then you're going to be doing that wherever there's a little sticker mark. So we're going to do that now. And then the same along here. Okay, and that's simple as that. The back panel is attached, nice and easy. Okay, so we're going to go with one of the side panels. In this case we're getting the right hand side one, and again let me just show us as Reese brings that in. You're sitting that on top of this frame, and you'll see where that is lining up against the back panel there, and these stickers green on this one, so you would use the bag of screws with the green sticker on, and you will be attaching into that back frame there. I'll just let Peter do that. Okay, and then you're just doing the same as what you did on your back panel. You're screwing down into that base, into the timbers that are below the actual grey sheet, and that is your side panel. Now the best thing to do at this stage is these bike stores, or if you're using them for other storage, they come with this security bar which we put in, which is just a little extra we add, that if you're using it for bikes or lawnmowers and things like that, just gives you something that you might want to padlock them to, or use a bike lock or something similar. But it's best to feed that into now. So you can see there on this back piece there's this galvanized holder for the bar. You slide that in at this stage, and you'll see there that slots into that hole in the framework. Okay, now when you put your left hand side piece on, you're going to be wanting to line that piece of tubing, this galvanised tubing, up on the other side. So you can see the hole there ready, and they're just sitting that on top of the base. You can see there, lining it up, and you can see that's just manoeuvring into position, and we're going to repeat the process. So we're going to screw down the framework here where the green stickers are marked, and then along the base there, which we'll just do now. Okay, so that's done. So you can see there now, we've got the base, the rear's on, the two sides are on. The thing's already virtually finished. Nearly time to get that kettle on and cup of tea time. Right, next bit. Right, we're going to go with one of the doors, and you can see here that these are marked up. So that in this one you'll be looking for the stickers, obviously with the pink sticker on to match. Holes are already done, so it's just a case of popping that door on and attaching that, which we'll do now. So you're just lining up the hinges with the holes that are already in there. You start by getting a couple of screws in just to sort of take the weight and help line that up, and you're just following that down. Now, just for this demonstration purposes, we'll just put a couple of screws in each of these hinges just to speed this video along, but you get the idea. You're going to be going back and then, you know, putting all your screws in, and then, you know, it's all secure. Right, we'll get the other door on and we'll rinse and repeat that process. So again, same on this side, lining up those holes. And again, just for this video, we'll just pop a couple of screws in just to give you the idea, but you would finish those off and that's that done. So you've got the back, the two sides and the doors on. You know, no special tools needed. Peter's using an impact driver here, but a normal screwdriver or a drill driver would be beneficial, really good. So now the last piece really, and that's getting the roof on. Okay, roof, and this is the final piece of this little puzzle. So you're just going to lift the roof on, and then it's going to slide in the inside of the framework that you can see here. So this framework of the store, the roof is going to slot inside of that. So I'll just let the lads show you. Okay, so you can see this framework here on the underside of the roof. That's fitting into position and then sliding over, and you can see there, just if I can get in there, you can see how this framework here is fitting on the inside of this framework here. So as this comes down, it's going to slot in. So this along the back is pressing against that back piece. Once you've got that, it's just a case of lowering the roof into position, and it might just need a little bit of coaxing to just, there you go, clunk into position. That lovely clunking sound, that's just a nice snug fit. And then all you do then is open the doors up, and you're going on the inside just to connect the framework together. So Peter's just very kindly opened that, and you will see underneath here, and again, just like we did with the base, these holes that are along here where the stickers are, you would just be screwing those together all the way along like that, and that is as simple as that. Your bike store, or whatever store it is you're using it for, garden furniture, lawnmowers, whatever, is ready and assembled. 10-15 minutes tops. Now this version is a slatted version. Obviously you can see the gaps. This is not a weatherproof option. This is being used for mountain bikes, I believe, for this client. So they get very muddy, very wet, very dirty. They're going to get a rinse off and then put in this so they're not in the house. But obviously we do solid versions of this door, or if you want the slatted look, this is a cedar 44mm slat. If this is the look you prefer, we can actually build these with a marine plywood lining in between this framework and the slats. So from the exterior you would still get that lovely slatted look, which on this option is vertical. Now these can be horizontal as well. But instead of the gaps in between, so keeping the elements out if you're using it for cushions or things that are, you know, electric lawnmowers and things like that, then you could always opt for the marine ply lining on top of the framework, and then the slats get put on. And also these units, this one I think, as I mentioned, 2 meters wide. I think it's about from the top of my head 950 in depth, and this one is 1300 in height. These have been built by us full height, 2 meters high, bigger versions, but this is our standard store. This suits a lot of the sizes, bikes and garden tools and lawnmowers and things like that. So if you need a bespoke option, please do get in touch. Drop us an email with your sizes. Let us know what timber you're interested in. The only other thing that you would need to add is, you can see here on the back, the guttering clips are all on. You would just clip that in place and that is all ready to catch any rainwater. That rainwater then can then be you know, run off to somewhere in the garden, or to a water butt or something like that. But you can see there that beautiful Western red cedar bike store is up, and it literally takes 10 or 15 minutes. All right, thank you very much.